Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to start today's presentation. Today, we'll be exploring Mega Goal 2.1, which is part of Unit 3. The title of our unit is Far and Away. We'll be focusing on some important grammar concepts that will help you improve your language skills. In this session, I'll give you an overview of what we'll cover so you know what to expect. Let's get started and have a great learning experience together. Now, let's focus on classifying adverbs according to their degree correctly. Understanding how to identify and categorize adverbs of degree is essential because it helps us express intensity or level more accurately. Next, we'll practice rewriting sentences using adverbs of degree. This exercise is great for improving our ability to choose the right adverb to match the context. Additionally, we'll review how to use sentence adverbs correctly. These adverbs often modify the entire sentence and can change the tone or emphasis. Lastly, we'll work on completing a paragraph with appropriate sentence adverbs. This will help us see how these adverbs function within larger texts, making our writing more coherent and expressive. So, by mastering these skills, you'll be better equipped to communicate your ideas clearly and effectively. Now let's look at how we can form adverbs from adjectives. On this slide, we see 3 examples: quick, careful, and beautiful. First, notice that the adjective quick becomes quickly when we add lie. This turns it into an adverb which describes how something is done. The same pattern applies to careful. Adding lie gives us carefully, which tells us how an action is performed. And for beautiful, when we add lie, it becomes beautifully, describing the way something is done, like singing or decorating. The key point here is that many adverbs are made by simply adding lie to an adjective. This is a common and straightforward way to form adverbs in English. Remember, adverbs are words that describe verbs, adjectives, or even other adverbs. They add detail about how, when, where, or to what extent something happens. So, when you're trying to describe an action more precisely, think about whether an adverb formed from an adjective can help you do that. This understanding will help you make your language more precise and expressive, which ties into the overall theme of using language effectively. Now let's look at what an adverb is. An adverb is a word that describes either an adjective or a verb. For example, in the phrase, "he is very tall," the word very is an adverb because it describes the adjective tall. It tells us how tall he is. Similarly, in the sentence, "he speaks loudly," the word loudly is an adverb because it describes how he speaks. It gives us more information about the verb speaks. The key thing to remember is that adverbs add detail and help us understand more about how, when, where, or to what extent something happens. Recognizing adverbs will help us make our descriptions clearer and more precise in our communication. Now let's take a closer look at what an adverb is. Essentially, an adverb is a word that describes another adverb. It helps give us more information about how, when, where, or to what extent something happens. For example, in the sentence, "she is reading so quickly," the word quickly is an adverb that describes how she is reading. Similarly, in the sentence, "he is running very fast," the phrase "very fast" includes an adverb, fast, which describes how he is running, and very intensifies that description. What's important to remember is that adverbs can modify verbs, adjectives, or even other adverbs. They add detail and precision to our language. And as you can see from these examples, the placement of adverbs can vary, but their main role is always to provide more context about the action or description. So, understanding adverbs is key to making your sentences more vivid and expressive, fitting perfectly into the overall theme of improving your language skills. So, one interesting thing to keep in mind is that not all adverbs end with lie. While many do, there are some that are irregular in this way. These adverbs are quite common in everyday language, and they often add a bit of variety and natural flow to our speech and writing. Recognizing these irregular adverbs is important because it helps us use language more accurately and confidently. It also connects to the larger theme of understanding the nuances of English grammar, which can really improve our overall communication skills. So, always be on the lookout for these irregular forms. They're small details, but they make a big difference. Now, let's look at some examples to understand how adverbs of degree work. First, we have she entirely agrees with him. This prompts us to ask, how much does she agree? The adverb, entirely, tells us that her agreement is complete or total. Next, she is very beautiful. Here, we're asking, to what extent is she beautiful? The word very intensifies her beauty, indicating it's quite remarkable. Then there's, he drove quite dangerously. In this case, we're questioning, how dangerously did he drive? Quite suggests a significant degree of danger, but not necessarily the maximum. The key point to remember is that adverbs of degree answer the questions, how much or to what extent? They help us specify the level or intensity of an action or quality, adding precision to our descriptions. And as we see in these examples, understanding these adverbs enhances our ability to communicate exactly how much or how intensely something happens or exists. Let's take a closer look at how we use adverbs of degree with main verbs. Typically, these adverbs come before the main verb they modify, giving us a way to express the extent or intensity of an action. For example, you might say, I've almost finished cooking, where almost tells us how much of the cooking is done. It's important to remember that adverbs of degree help us add nuance and clarity to our sentences. So, when you're constructing sentences, think about placing these adverbs just before the main verb to accurately convey the degree of the action. This is a simple yet powerful way to make your language more precise and expressive. Let's talk about adverbs today. As you can see, adverbs often modify verbs, providing more detail about how an action is performed. For example, in the sentence, he read the map very carefully. The adverb carefully tells us how he read the map. Now, adverbs can also modify adjectives, giving us a clearer picture of the intensity or degree. For instance, the exam was extremely easy shows us just how easy the exam was, thanks to the adverb extremely. An important point to remember is that adverbs of degree usually go before the adjective or adverb they modify. So, in this case, extremely comes before easy to emphasize the level of easiness. Understanding how to use adverbs of degree is key to making your descriptions more precise and impactful. It helps you convey not just what happened, but how it happened or to what extent. So, in summary, adverbs add depth to your sentences, especially when you want to express intensity or manner, and their placement before the word they modify is a crucial rule to remember. Now, let's look at how adverbs work in relation to adjectives and other adverbs. For example, you might say, you are not speaking loudly enough. Here, loudly is an adverb describing how you're speaking, and enough is used to show the degree to which you're speaking loudly. Moving on, we see that adjectives can also be modified by adverbs. For instance, in the question, is your coffee hot enough? In this case, hot is an adjective describing the coffee, and enough is again acting as an adverb of degree. It's important to remember that when enough is used as an adverb of degree, it always goes after the adjective or adverb it modifies. So, when you're constructing sentences, keep in mind that placement after the adjective or adverb is key to correct usage. This concept ties into the bigger picture of how we use language to express degree or intensity clearly and accurately. Understanding these placements helps us communicate more effectively, especially when emphasizing or qualifying descriptions. Now let's look at how we use adverbs of degree with adjectives and adverbs. For example, in the sentence, her dress was very elegant. The word very is used before the adjective elegant to emphasize how elegant the dress was. Using very helps strengthen the meaning and shows a higher degree of the quality. Similarly, we have the sentence, the shoes were too small. Here, too is used before the adjective small to indicate that the shoes are excessively small, more than what is necessary or comfortable. The key point to remember is that very is used to emphasize and intensify the adjective or adverb, making the statement stronger. On the other hand, Too indicates excess or something beyond what's desired or acceptable. Understanding how to use these words correctly helps us communicate more precisely and effectively, especially when describing qualities or degrees. This is an important part of mastering descriptive language and making our expressions clearer. Frankly, I find that using adverbs of degree can really help us communicate the strength or intensity of our feelings or opinions. For example, when I say, "I'm disappointed in the quality of this hotel," adding an adverb like frankly makes my honesty clear and adds a conversational touch. It's important to choose the right adverb to match the level of emphasis you want to convey. Some common examples include absolutely, completely, or certainly, which can strengthen your statement. In today's presentation, we've seen how these adverbs help us express ourselves more precisely and effectively. So remember, using the right adverb of degree can really enhance your communication, making your message clearer and more impactful. Now, let's take a look at how auxiliary and adverbs work together in different sentence positions. An auxiliary, like has or be, helps form different tenses or voices, and adverbs can modify these auxiliaries to give more nuance. For example, in the sentence, "The flight has undoubtedly left by now," the adverb undoubtedly emphasizes certainty and is placed after the auxiliary has. Similarly, in "He certainly spent a lot of money on this trip," the adverb certainly comes before the main verb to reinforce the certainty of his spending. It's important to note that other sentence adverbs can appear in different positions depending on the structure. They can go after the verb be, before the simple tense of other verbs, or after the auxiliary in a compound verb. For example, in "You are obviously having a good time," the adverb obviously is placed after are, which is the verb be. Understanding these placements helps us convey meaning clearly and naturally, especially when we're emphasizing certain parts of the sentence. So, whether we're using auxiliaries or the verb be, adverbs can be positioned flexibly to fit the sentence's emphasis and flow. This is an important part of mastering sentence structure and making your speech more expressive. Obviously, understanding these key concepts is essential for grasping the bigger picture. Indeed, they form the foundation upon which everything else is built. However, it's important to recognize that there are nuances and exceptions that can influence how these ideas are applied in real-world scenarios. Presumably, most of us have encountered situations where things didn't go exactly as planned, which highlights the importance of flexibility and adaptability. Actually, diving deeper into these points reveals how interconnected they are with other aspects of the project. Obviously, this interconnectedness underscores why a comprehensive understanding is so crucial. Surprisingly, even small details can significantly impact outcomes, reminding us to pay close attention to every element. Interestingly, when we look at the data and case studies, we see consistent patterns that reinforce these concepts, making them all the more relevant. All right, now as we wrap up, I want to remind you to review the exercises in your workbook, specifically Exercise F on page 239. This is a great opportunity to apply what we've discussed today and reinforce your understanding. Remember, the key points we've covered, whether it's the concepts, strategies, or techniques, are all interconnected and aimed at helping you improve your skills. So take your time with this homework, really think about the questions, and try to connect them to the overall theme of our presentation. Doing this will not only solidify your learning, but also prepare you better for practical application. Thanks for your attention, and I look forward to seeing your progress.